Okay, so it is recording. I would rather, I record this so that those that join maybe a few minutes after we get started, do not miss out a lot. And it also helps you, enables you to, maybe come back to this. So as I said, I'm currently studying entrepreneurship and innovation at the University of Edinburgh. So a brief background about me. I am from Lagos, Nigeria, and to a very large extent, I know some of you might, be doing this. Basically, I got to hear I had foundation scholarship from a YouTube channel. At that point, at the point where I was applying, like looking forward to, apply for a scholarship, I got to know about it from a YouTube channel. At that point, I was trying to apply for Chivnin, right? So basically, I graduated. So all of this, I'm sharing this background as a context to some of the things in which we would actually address later on, on the call. So I graduated sometime in 2017, and the goal was to further, for my master's abroad. But you can relate when I say that it's a huge financial commitment, and the resources is not it's not like the resources to achieve that goal is there. So the alternative is to apply for scholarships, which I know you guys are actively doing. So I applied for Chevening, and then during the application I got to know about Mastercard and then the Erasmus Mundus. So the essays in which I wrote for Chevening, I didn't get Chevening, but I got another scholarship from one of the schools in which I applied to. So I applied to Chevening. I didn't get Chevening, but that same essay I was able to tweak it better, and I was able to apply for Mastercard, which I got. Also the Erasmus Mundus scholarship, which I got, and a 90% scholarship from one of my preferred universities, which I also got. So as I said, I really do hope that the insights in which I share today would, help you. A quick disclaimer: everything I'm going to be sharing here, they're like my personal thoughts, my experience. It's in no way, um, um, I'm not, saying that this is exactly what I'm not here representing Mastercard, right? These are my personal thoughts, and this were the things that worked for me, in which I also believe would work for you. And I know that has also worked for a couple of colleagues. So for those that are applying, if you've started the application process, you would know that there's a survey. Now that survey, I want you to note that the survey's deadline is actually sooner than the actual scholarship application deadline. So if you are still like taking your time before you submit that survey, please, just wrap it up and submit, because the deadline is actually, closer. Then also please note that anyone can get this scholarship. Like literally, the selection is not biased. You just have to put your best foot forward and tell your story. Tell your story, right? Make sure your essays are tight, and that is why we're having this conversation. So as I proceed, if you have any question, please feel free to just note them down, and we'll get into, the Q&A in the next 25 minutes thereabout. So as I said, make sure that you tie your story or the course in which you want to apply for in line with what you are really passionate about, or with something that you've actually been doing and you plan to do more stops within that context. With the Mastercard Foundation scholarship, there are some. It's not entirely open to all courses. So I believe there are like 10 courses thereabouts for on campus. There's also the opportunity to learn. There's the online scholarship, and then there's the on-campus scholarship. So you just have to check to really know that whichever course it is that you'll be applying for is something you'll be really passionate about, because it will tell, while writing your essays, and it will make your work easier. And one key thing in which I would also say before we dive right in is those essays. Yeah, it's an essay. Yeah, it is, to a very large extent, it is easier to write a 500-word essay than writing a 250, 300-word essay. But the key thing here is to understand the question, break it down, look at the key things they're asking or they're expecting, and it's okay to write whatever comes to your mind, or you can list it as a bullet point. Then the where the work really comes in is, fine-tuning the essays, right? So now let's get started. So I'm going to be dividing this into 3 sections. So before you apply, even as you're applying, and what happens after you've applied, right? So before applying, one of the key things in which I believe we should all have done right now is to check the eligibility criteria. Make sure that you meet that criteria. Very important. And I'm sure to a very large extent, the criteria is not so it's not so bulky, in the sense that it would make a lot of people be disqualified, so just confirm. And one other thing in which a lot of people do not really know is that the Mastercard Foundation team, scholars team, actually updates their FAQs. So I would always encourage you to check the FAQs if you've not seen that aspect on the website. Just go there. When you click on apply for scholarship, you see the FAQ. So check that FAQs. You might, find 1 or 2 answers to some questions you might have. Now, also before applying, make sure you understand why you are actually applying. The preparation actually starts years before. It's not when you hear about the opportunity. And I say this because a lot of your response to the essay is they really want to get to know you. What have you been doing? So it's about telling your story, talking about what you've been doing and how the scholarship would, empower you to be able to be better personally, and how you can then give back to your community. So very important. So you need to know why you're applying. When you know why you are really applying, you would know what course you want to apply for, and knowing what course you want to apply for would help you reflect better and craft your answers better. So you also need to, if you've not done this, you need to reflect on how you've been able to demonstrate a track record of giving back. So giving back means giving back to your society, to your community, whether through volunteering, whether through, active work, and how you've even been able to give back. So some of us might have vast experience working with NGOs, some might not, might have even created their own nonprofits, some of you might have not. Some of you might have created your own startups or like your business. So basically you want to demonstrate, okay, so what is the impact of some of the things in which you've been engaged with, since graduation? What has been the impact, right? To a very large extent, you might have something in which you own, or you might be working with a firm. So it doesn't matter whether you are the one that created it or you're working with someone. It doesn't matter. What you need to be able to demonstrate are like the key impacts that you've made while working within that organization, within that non-profit, or within that community. How the community has benefited from it, how the business has grown, from your contribution. Then to a very large extent, the current program focuses a lot on climate. So climate change, climate leadership. One of the key goals is to, empower more climate conscious entrepreneurs and scholars, Africans across the globe. So if you have experience, working within anything that has to do with the sustainability, the SDGs or climate change, then you might want to think about, what experience you have there, and that would also help you when answering the question that has to do with climate leadership. So one other thing in which I've said before, but it's very important that you intentionally pick your course. Picking your course here means it needs to be something that you are, to a very large extent, maybe you've already been doing something, at least within that field, and the course is like, a step further for you to get more experience and exposure to do better within that field. Also, please note that the essay is continuous. And when I say continuous, what I mean is that you should focus your response. You should tailor your response in such a way that you are telling a story. So when they're reading your essay, when you give the context that, oh, you're passionate about health, health, then maybe down the line we then see that, oh, you're passionate about something else. Just make sure that your story, each essay is like it's building onto each other. So it's not as though I'm reading about person A. When I read your answers for essay 1 and 2, and then in essay 3 and 4, it's like, who is this new person that you're introducing? Just make sure your story aligns, right? So basically, when I talk about your story, it all has to do with what is your background, what have you been up to, right? What are the key challenges you probably encountered while trying to upskill yourself, whether academically or even in your career. How did you overcome those challenges, right? How would the scholarship, how would the course help you become better? How would it help you gain the required knowledge, expertise, exposure that you need to do better? What are your career goals, and how would the Mastercard Foundation scholarship help you achieve all of this? So it might look like it's a lot, but what I would also recommend is you break it down. So one thing in which I did, which helped me, was there were some questions that I saw and I could easily, relate and even answer. So I started with those questions. You don't necessarily need to start from question essay 1, 2, 3. You can pick whichever one resonates or you think is the lowest hanging fruits that you can get started with, right? Then before we move on to the essay review part, one last thing in which I want to emphasize here, which is very important. If you watch any scholarship, any video on YouTube about someone sharing their experience winning maybe an award or a scholarship, they would always emphasize that you use the STAR method. And I hope within this webinar I'll also get to show you how you can use that. So the STAR method is situation, task, action, reward. So they want to, when you want to answer your essays, especially those that has to do with talking about you, your background, you want to talk about the context, the situation. Don't just answer the question just for answering sake. The STAR approach actually helps you tell your story better. So the context: where are you from? What have you been up to? What was the problem? If the question is about talk about how you've been able to make impact, or how you've been able to bring about a change within your community. So what was the context? Okay, so maybe within my community I noticed that we had a lot of female the girl child who had to drop out of school for so and so. So that's like the situation. What is the task? So I saw that, oh, this was a problem and I needed to do so and so. So that's the task. The action: what did you actually do? Oh, so I reached out to, we created maybe like a CDA, or a parent student committee, where we could talk to the parents, blah 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 blah. So that's like actionable steps in which you took upon or you acted on, right? And the reward: what is the reward? Okay, so from all of this that I've done, in all of the actions in which I took, this is the reward. So when talking about the reward or the results, it's always good to quantify it. So maybe before we used to have like 50% dropout rate. The dropout rate has reduced from 50%, maybe like 20 or 15%, and so, and just make sure it is SMART. So by SMART, it means it is specific, it is measurable, I think it is actionable. The R and C, it's time bound, and the R is eluding me right now. But what I would recommend you to do is check YouTube or just Google how to write essays using the STAR method and how to write SMART goals. So by SMART goals, it means, okay, you want to be you want to maybe become a lawyer. So rather than just one of my goals is to become a lawyer or become an entrepreneur, you can say that, oh, by my goal is to become an entrepreneur, someone who solves problem, people's pressing needs, within when exactly. So that's it being time bound, by a particular date or a particular year. So I'm going to move on, but what I really want to emphasize here is please watch YouTube videos on how to use the STAR method. Just give me a second. Okay. So apologies about that. I had to quickly take a drink of water. So now let's move into the essay review proper. So basically, with the Mastercard Foundation scholars program, I believe the essays actually do change. When I was applying, the essay questions I saw, at least that other scholars talked about, was a bit different, but it was actually also the same. Just give me a minute. Okay, so the essay questions were, even though they were a bit different, but they were also the same in the sense that they are almost asking the same thing. It's just that the words might change, but it's usually always the same in that context. So because basically they want to know more about you, they want to know your leadership experience, they want to know the research you've done when it comes to the courses, they want to know how you are able to work with people. That's bring your strengths, how you're able to work and collaborate with teams of people or groups of people. Then also there's always a question around the climate leadership program. So what I'm going to be doing right now is I would be trying to answer some of these essays and maybe give maybe one or two things in which I wrote, and then we can, like, maybe that would actually work as an example. But before I proceed, can we all still hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes,
All right. Okay.
yes, I can hear.
Okay,
Yes,
awesome.
we can hear you.
Okay. All right, so let's get started. So to recap, the STAR approach, I cannot really, like, I cannot overemphasize that. Then you need to just maybe watch YouTube to a very large extent. A lot of people underestimate YouTube, but that was I got a lot of insights from YouTube. So number one question, which was I'm going to read the question that was asked, right? And then just give snippets on how I answered that question. But before I do that, essay one always ask, they want to know if you face barriers to education, whether it had to do with social, financial, personal, practical, or even health related, or even disability, right? Then for this, you need to give a little bit of context about yourself without necessarily having to say your whole history. Just pick the most important thing. And it's okay if when you write, you have maybe 500, 600 words. That's beautiful. That means you have a lot of things you want to talk about. You just need to pick what are the key things you want to really emphasize on, what are the strengths here, and then paraphrase, summarize. So to answer this first question, any question that has to do with talking about barriers you've encountered, give context about yourself, past experience, and most importantly, how you've been able to overcome them, right? Um, the goal here is not to talk about, oh, how you've been disadvantaged, but, oh, though I have been disadvantaged in so and so, I have been able to pull pull myself out of this what's it called now? Pull myself out of this space, by doing so and so. Let me see. Then one other thing you need to do is you need to make it concise, right? As I said, you only have maybe about 250, 300 words. So anything you've done, you can summarize it within 2-3 sentences, and you move on. So last year, we were asked something around, so reflecting on your life so far, tell us how you meet the key selection criteria for the scholars program. Please include any barriers you have faced in your education and early career, right? So the key question here was reflecting on your life so far. Tell us how you met or how you meet the key selection criteria. So here they want you to explain how you actually meet the key selection criteria for the scholars program. Please include any barriers that you have faced in your education and early career. So we are all different, right? We all have our unique experience. Just give me a second, please. Let me drink water. Okay, thank you. I've had like this cough for some days now, so just apologies. Thanks. Yeah, so what you want to do here is talk about the barriers, very important, and how you've been able to overcome this. So for me, I wouldn't say that I had I've had some of my colleagues and their experiences. So to a very large extent, I would not say that coming from my background or how my parents raised me, I was disadvantaged. I didn't live in a slum, right? So I can't share that story because that's not my story. That's not my experience. So what you want to do is think about your own personal story, your experience, and look at key areas where you know that, oh, maybe you found it difficult to get access, whether it had to do with your academics, whether it was work related, right? How were you able to overcome this challenge, right? And what was the result? And if you've been able to even overcome the challenge and indirectly or directly also assisted others to overcome that same challenge, then you're very good to go. So I didn't have financial challenges like getting accommodation, getting admission, because at that age it was my parents that helped. But one key thing in which I did encounter challenge on was had to do with my career. So that was what I tailored my essay on, right? So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that everybody is different. You all have your beautiful and unique experiences. So just use that. So what I did was to let them know that as an English undergraduate, in 2016, so I wanted to, as an English undergraduate in 2016, I didn't necessarily want to work. I knew that my degree would limit me in terms of the things I'll be able to do career-wise, when I graduate. So I really wanted to learn something. I wanted to do something in IT because I was fascinated about technology, right? But I didn't necessarily have the resources to be able to get those software development courses and training programs. So I was able to register for a 2-week software development training, which I was selected. And I then emphasized that among 25 participants, I was actually the only female. And irrespective of my background in English, I was able to do excellently well. I didn't just do excellently well. From the knowledge I gained, I was able to use that to freelance as an undergraduate to sustain myself and help my mother, with my well-being and, financial upkeeps and the likes. And then I went on and on. So the next thing I also mentioned was that upon graduating, and I was at a loss, still career-wise, I was at a loss for what to do. I needed to upskill myself to actually advance my career in software development. However, my financial resources made this a bit challenging for me. So I discovered another scholarship program that empowered females that wanted to get into tech. This was 2016-ish. To get a program. This is just just giving a brief of context here. So 2016, if you wanted to take a program like this, you would have to spend close to 200K, and 200K or thereabouts now in naira. Even at present day, it's a lot of money. So talk less of when it was back then. So it was a lot of money. So I got this scholarship, and I was successfully admitted. And through this, I was able to gain the knowledge to transition into a career in technology. Through this scholarship, I've sustained myself financially since graduation. The knowledge I also acquired has been instrumental in my professional growth as a tech entrepreneur and the founder of my startup. I mentioned my startup there, which addresses, I mentioned the problem there. In return, I have also guided, I mentioned the number of female students that I've also guided to get their career in tech, to get into tech, within my community through volunteering at so. And so I mentioned the organizations. So I was like, with the support of the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program, I will gain the expertise to learn how to get, the business knowledge, to know how to, scale this impact, to make sure that we have more females that can actually get into tech, technology, and those that are actually interested in building in the business side of tech, right? So do remember that my course has to do with entrepreneurship and innovation. So there's that tech aspect. So I was able to lean into that. So basically, that was the story. Just a brief snippet. So let me quickly move on to the next essay, just for the sake of time. So the leadership experience, it's more like they want to know what you've done within your community, right? They want to know what you've done within your community, how you've been able to give back. And for this, let me just move and see which one. Excuse me. Okay. Okay. So how have you been involved in giving back to your community? Mention key organizations you've worked with, quantify it. Have you seen a problem around you, and then maybe you've taken on one or two actions to solve that problem, right? Remember, the STAR approach is also very important here. So what you want to do is talk about the situation. What was the problem you saw? What was the action? What was the task? What was the action? Then what were the results? So if I were to use this webinar as an example, I could say that, after graduation in 2017, I always wanted to further my master's in the UK, but I didn't have the financial resources to do this. I actively searched on Google, and I got to know about the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship Program. This is not what I wrote, this is an example. So that's a task, right? So what was the action? So I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and from these videos, I was able to write my essay, tailor my essays. And what was the result? The result was I got the scholarship, right? Then also, you can also, so that's just an example of the STAR approach. I could also say something like, okay, after getting the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship Program, I knew that so and so. What was it? Okay, after getting the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship Program, I got to realize that a whole lot of people in my country also wanted, to get access to this kind of opportunity, but there was like a gap. So what was the task? Okay, so what I did was create a webinar. That's like a task, and the action. I created a webinar, which over maybe 50 people were able to attend. And what was the result? Where I shared tips and insights on how they can ace their essay. And what was the result? The result was, out of the 50, I can say maybe like 10, 20, or 30, by God's grace, was able to get into the program itself, right? So that is like a brief example. It enables you like tell a story. So to answer the leadership experience question, what I had to do here was, the experience I had was, with my own startup. And as I said, it's not necessarily, if you've not created something, maybe like your own profit, non-profit, or your business or your startup, if you've worked within an organization, you've worked for an organization, right? I'm guessing right now you're not, as you're applying, you're not still in school. You should have graduated because that's one of the requirements, right? So you should have like some experience. So what are those things you've done? Maybe if there was a problem that you saw, you can give a quick snippet on what the problem was, and then what did you do? What were the actions you took, and what was the result? Oh, you got a promotion. Oh, you were able to improve the operational efficiency by so and so percent. Like, try to quantify it. Very important. So I said something around I witnessed an emergency in April 2021 that exposed Nigeria's inadequate road emergency response and alerting systems. Then I did a little bit of research, and according to the research gates, and so, I realized that road emergencies was Nigeria's third leading cause of overall deaths. So I established Alert, a road safety tech startup that does this and this and this and this. And since its inception, Alert has impacted and so Nigerians online and offline, using first aid knowledge and emergency assistance. So that is that. Then I also mentioned, 8 months down the line, after building this idea, there was a challenge of actually getting team members and resources. So that was like the context, right? So I knew that I needed to get team members and the resources that I would need to actually, make this idea work. What did I do? What was the action? So I attended a Women in Tech conference in September, where I was able to passionately share Alert's vision to an audience of over 250 women. And after after my speech, over 30 females came to me, okay, that they would like to volunteer. So that was like the task. Then what was the result? In return, that means I had volunteers, I had the team on board, right? So in return, I've transformed these volunteers that didn't even have any business experience to be able to create business plan, business pitches, and even lead meetings that has to do with alert stakeholders, right? So from volunteers that had no prior experience, just by working with me, they were able to get that experience. So it's more like you've I just had to put that in a way such that it's more like, okay, they helped me, and in return I was able to help them, right? And that goes on and on and on, right? So leadership experience here is, what was that problem you saw? What have you done? How has it impacted others, right? So now let's move on to essay 3. Yeah, so with essay 3, this one is very important. And I feel like to a very large extent, any question that has to do with your course, even if they're asking about your background, even if they're asking about your leadership record, even if they're asking about climate change, always bring in what you are studying or what you plan to study. How would this help you? Always look for a way to chip it in, so for this one, this is like the easiest one to answer because the information you need is at your fingertip. One thing that works, is at least a lot of University of Edinburgh's website is very, very user friendly. So whatever course it is that you want to study, I believe that by now you should have gone to the university's website, search for the course. When you search for the course, you'll be able to see the course modules. You will see the course lecturers. You would see, if it is something that you would have to do research, whether it's something that is, collaborative, maybe you have to do a consultancy project, or you have to do a group work, or you have to do a presentation, or you have to do a podcast. All of those will give you context to be able to build up on this, answering this essay. Now, this is like this is very easy to do because the information is already there. You don't necessarily have to think about your past or projects that you've been involved in. The information is there, right? So let me see. So yeah, what you need to do here is take note of the key lecturers. So when you're talking about the courses, you don't need to write the course code, just the course and the course lecturer's name, maybe the professor or the doctor. Take a look through the website. look through the website for curricular activities, right? That's whether within your school. When I say your school, it means your faculty, your department, curricular activities that they are involved with. What are the other programs that you can also or activities that you would also want to engage in that are in line with what you want to study, right? Because it's not always just about academics, right? And how would all of these things that you want to learn, what do you want to do with it? What is your career, what is your career plan? And for your career plan, I would always recommend you can break it into maybe 2, maybe 3 and 5 years. If you want to go the extra mile, maybe 10 years, but make it smart, as I said before, right? Give specifics, give details. So I'm going to look for where I said something about that. Okay. Okay. All right. So for this, I was like, okay, over 6 years, I've transitioned from being just an English scholar to a female startup founder through consistent self-development in incubation programs and entrepreneurship programs. This has made me an alumni of entrepreneurship building organizations like the Faith Foundation, the Tole Alumni Foundation, amongst others. But you see that while these programs have actually enhanced my entrepreneurship and leadership capacity, I still need a well-rounded and inclusive business education to develop my ideas into coherent and highly scalable businesses, right? So business ventures, something like that. So being, with the so and so course, with the entrepreneurship and innovation course, this is like my access card to learning how to build sustainable businesses from just an idea, into building ventures from just an idea into sustainable and scalable ventures, right? Through the consultation, just look at the course modules. Oh, with the consultation, let me look for that. Although I don't necessarily want to read word for word. So what I would always just advise is look for the course code. There was a course code, there was a course on consultation, and I know that I've not really had that experience, doing anything that has to do with consultancy. So I was able to say, oh, with this, I'll know how to actually manage consultancy projects, and not just that, also teach my team members and also see how we can do this for one of my other business ideas, which I wanted to do, which is Founder City, which is more like an incubator program for undergraduates, first-time entrepreneurs. So, and I said that all the knowledge in which I've gotten, from my course modules, I mentioned some of the course modules would give me the robust knowledge to know how to create a coherent and inclusive curriculum that would help, these first-time entrepreneurs within Founder City to be able to build their own businesses and ideas. So yeah, so that's like a brief summary or a brief overview of that. So your course, anything that has to do with your course, just look for, go through the course page. When you know what the courses are, they would also list, the key things you'll be able to achieve, even, before and after the course. The key things that you would understand before and after the course, then you can see how that fits into your career plan and talk about that. So we're going to move now to, okay, so now I'm going to merge this here. So why Edinburgh? Why MCF? It's usually why the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program. Like, how would you give back? How would you contribute? So for this, you need to do your research. The Mastercard Foundation Program, they have like so many things they're engaged with in terms of activities and events. So you can check. Their website is a very, it's a very good resource. The other resource in which I would also recommend is YouTube. Just check YouTube. You find so many things on YouTube. Like I say it again, people really underestimate the kind of information you can get on YouTube. For the climate leadership program, if you do not have any experience in climate change and the likes, what I would recommend is educate yourself. Give me a second. Okay, so I would recommend that you educate yourself. For this, I had to take on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn Learning, I don't think I even paid for it. Or I think I can't remember if I paid for it or not. But um LinkedIn Learning, I was able to get some courses about sustainability and its impacts, how entrepreneurship can also, the linkage between entrepreneurship and climate change, sustainability, and the like. So I was able to get a couple of videos that really helped me understand what climate change is really about. So if you do not have so much experience, working in this space, this context, I would say that you should just educate yourself. And just as I said, even with the question that ask, to know how well you've been a transformational leader, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that you are doing. So I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but I'm saying that now. It doesn't always have to be something that you're doing. If you've not yet created something or started something, maybe you have an idea, right? Talk about that idea. So even for the climate leadership question, you can think about how, think about if you do not have a project in that line, think about an idea that's okay, maybe from a problem standpoint. There's a lot of issues, within Nigeria. I'm sure a lot of people here are from Nigeria. You have food security, you have drainage systems, and all of those. So those are problems. So what are the ideas? What are the things you think you would like to learn to know how to solve some of these climate related problems, right? So let me see. Then you can also do your research to see institutions within Edinburgh, within the University of Edinburgh, that very heavy on climate change. We have the Edinburgh Health Initiative, the Edinburgh University of Edinburgh Climate Change Institute. Do your research to see what they are really, really doing, right? One thing I don't know if I've emphasized, but I'm going to emphasize it again now, is that you need to do your research. There's no how you would know what is really going on and what they've been up to if you don't research. So, and it always tells, it's just as though someone is trying to apply to become maybe your PA, right? And the person just comes with a generic, oh, I want to apply because I just want to become your PA. I need money, I need to jackpot, I need to get this knowledge, and I don't have the money. Then there's also the part of, I've studied, oh, I know you are engaged and involved in this and this and this. I have this, so and so ideas on how I believe, or these are some of my skills in which I know that I would be able to complement to help you achieve some of these your goals. So talking about some of the things in which they're engaged in, it just shows that you've done the work, you've done your research, right? And it also helps your essay stand out. So let's move. So additional tips I'll just quickly share is if you are struggling to know how to fine-tune your essay, just list the key things you really want to talk about. Or if you have so many things, just list the key things and talk about it. And you find out that maybe in some essays you have a lot more to talk about than in some other essays. So it's okay for you to remove some things and see how you can stylishly bring them into some other while answering some other questions, right? Rather than just discarding those ideas and experiences. If you believe they are like some of your strengths, you can, even while answering some other questions that does not necessarily has to do with maybe some of the things you've been up to, you can just bring it back, just to reference, see how you can make that work. So the essays are continuous. I already mentioned that. Make sure you have a central story. So my story has always been, I've always been interested in technology and the business part of tech. So the challenge was I didn't have the resources to get enrolled in programs where I would be able to learn how to code software development. But I was able to apply, even though there was the financial barrier and then there was the gender barrier. Out of like 25 people in the class, I was the only female for like 2-3 weeks. That's also to tell you, that's also part of the story, right? Then why am I taking this course, studying this course? I'm studying entrepreneurship and innovation because I'm actively, also working. I'm in that line, I'm in that space. I love the idea of, seeing problems around me and brainstorming to figure out problems, solutions that, one can build in relation with build solutions, to fix those problems. And when I talk about solutions, I like tech-driven solutions, right? And because they are scalable and they are easily accessible. And this is why I'm applying for this, to actually get this knowledge. And the goal is to not just get this knowledge, but to be able to build on the ideas that I have and also pass this on to undergraduates, even in several universities in Nigeria that have ideas but do not even know how to even get started on how to turn from just being turn their idea from just being an idea to a successful business or a social enterprise or a non-profit. So that is the entire story. But the essay here just helps you break it down into bits. So don't forget, use the STAR approach. Don't be a lazy applicant. Go online, watch YouTube, know what they are doing, know what the Mastercard Foundation scholars program at the University of Edinburgh is doing, right? Know what the scholars program at large, what are their key goals, leverage your network. So when I say leverage your network, you can reach out to those people that really know you well, that you trust, to help you review your essays, because sometimes they might be the ones to even point out that but you have so and so experience, why didn't you add this here? You could have put this here better, because they know you better. So leverage your network. And please also note that it is a journey, right? You won't get to just start writing your essay today and finish it today or even within a week. So I'd recommend trying to just edit it, make it tighter, look at it again, see what works and rephrase it, right? So, and definitely, I'm a Christian, so prayer is key. Pray for wisdom, insight, to see what you're possibly not yet doing right, and then quickly tweak that up. Another key tip in which I didn't write here was take note of your grammar in terms of your writing, your punctuation, and all of that. So after application, what will typically happen is interviews. So for those that's selected, would get like an email to invitation for an interview. So I think I'll have another webinar for that when that time comes. But that you don't need to worry about that right now, because it's always sometime within February. So there's still time. But that interview, it doesn't mean that you already have it. You don't even have it yet. You still need to like do the interview and ace the interview. And that is but okay, Gideon, you are not muted. So it just means even though you've not yet gotten it, you are actually like a very strong candidate to get it. So you need to take it as seriously as you're taking the application process. Then references would get to talk about that, but basically you would need two references, one academic and one professional reference. For professional reference, for those that have been working, I'm sure that would not be an issue. If you have any issue with academic reference, because I actually did have like my own unique story, which I shared with AFM stories. So I would, maybe you guys will be able to get to know that but better when I share the video link. But one thing that worked was just go to your school, go to your department, and you'll be able to find someone that would help you out. It's not too late to get to know some of your lecturers. I know that as an undergraduate, I had to run from, there was the ideology that don't get so close to your lecturers, even as a female as a female student, right? So all of that, but I was able to get a reference, right? I was able to know me within the space of a week, 2 weeks, and was able to write a beautiful reference. So course application, yeah. So you've gotten the scholarship, you still need to apply to the course. But it's the school already knows you, but they still need to make sure that you qualify for the course. So if you will need to write an English test, it's not everybody writes the English test. So it's only if your degree requires it, right? I had to write. Originally, I wouldn't have, had to write. But for the fact that my first degree is like more than 6, 7 years, right? Even though I graduated from Unilag is like it's like if your degree are from some universities, they listed it there, you wouldn't need to write. But because my degree was more than 5 years old, I had to write. Then there's a TB test, tuberculosis test, the visa application. But when it comes to the English test, the TB test, the visa, the flight and everything, the Mastercard Foundation team would be there to support you in by sharing resources and even financially as well. So you would not necessarily need to feel the burden of that. And as I said, the goal and the prayer is that the things I've shared here, you're able to find value in at least some of them, and that they are able to they work for you. And hopefully we get to see you here and welcome you here in Edinburgh next year. So there are some key resources here, right? The AFM, I would not lie, guys, these videos from AFM stories really helped me. So, and I've said that already on LinkedIn, but I think what I would do is also like put the link to the playlist here. I said I was applying to Chivnin, so I'd already started working on my essays for Chivnin, but some of the questions were a bit different, for Mastercard. But that actually helped me because I'd already started watching some videos. So the fact that you're applying for, Mastercard Foundation scholarship does not mean that if you see scholarship videos of other scholarships, that doesn't mean it won't help you. They would help you, so you can apply. You can watch them, and we have a lot of videos on Chivnin on YouTube. So yesterday I had an interview with AFM Stories. To a very large extent, I would encourage you to watch that once it is released. I think I'll just put a LinkedIn post to let you guys know when that is released, because I know I shared some insights that I forgot to share here. Then also had an interview with Kudirat Lawal. Also check that out. Then there's Mirabel's LinkedIn post. This is very comprehensive. Like I saw that and I was like, I wish I even saw this when I was applying, but we thank God. So this is very, very, very detailed. So check that out. And the Mastercard Foundation team, scholars team at Edinburgh, they will be organizing their own webinar. Like this is from the organizers of the program themselves. So they'll be organizing their own webinar tomorrow. I would encourage you to also join. For these slides, I would be sending the slide alongside with the YouTube URL to watch the recording of this. So it won't be tonight, it will be tomorrow, right? Because it will take a while to process. But what I would encourage you to do if you're on this call is that you register for this. Okay, let me get this link. Let me stop presenting. So you need to get this link, because I think, how do I even go there? Okay. Yep. So let me get this. So please just go and register for this one, like ASAP. Or save the link, because I don't know if I don't think it would be a lengthy thing to go and register. It would possibly just be your name and email. Excuse me. Okay, let me just come back to the chat here. Okay. Yeah, so for some reason my screen is hanging. Okay, so this is the webinar link. Let me pin this MCF webinar. So please just go and Just save that link and register, right? So I think we're done here. I'm going to be moving on to the next, which is the Q&A. Just give me a second. Let me see if I have another slide here. Okay, I think we're done. Okay, that is it. So thank you everyone for your time. At this point, if we have questions, I would really love to hear questions. So you can drop them. And I can see there were some messages on the chat. So just raise your hand. Please just raise your hand. We'll get to those questions. Let me quickly read what I have here in the chat. Okay, so for those that are not able to access the browser, so what you can do, some people also complained that about this or mentioned this. Switch your network, number one. Number two, clear your cache. Number three, clear your cookies, right? So it's not everybody, but I've had like some colleagues and even friends that have mentioned it. So please try and do that. Clear your cache, clear your cookies, or open it in incognito mode. Someone is saying use Opera Mini. So you don't need to have IELTS to apply. If you need to do the English test, they will let you know. If you have an MSc already, I do not know if that would be a challenge or a restriction, but check the eligibility criteria, except they explicitly let you know that you should not have a master's before, but I can't remember anything like that. Okay, thank you, Musa, for answering that question. There is no application fee, so just apply to the scholarship itself, not to the course first. With the one at the University of Edinburgh, you apply to the scholarship first, not the course. Okay, so and I have dropped the link. While writing my personal statement, is it advisable to use personal pronouns? I don't understand this question, Francis. Obviously, you have to talk about I, not she. You're talking about yourself, so that is how you make it more personal. But please let me know what you mean. You can just raise your hand if I didn't answer that. Second class lower, I'm not so sure, but check if there's a restriction on that on the eligibility criteria. If you repeated the year during your undergraduate. Yeah, you can. Actually, if you had to repeat the year, maybe if you had, this is for Petronila, if you had to repeat a year during your undergrad, maybe you had to balance and shuffle, maybe school fees, or you had to like take on extra jobs and, which, really affected you academically, then that's a good story also. Thank you for organizing. You mentioned applying for the program as well. Yes. There's no point applying for the course except you want to self-fund if you do not get the scholarship. So it's only those that are shortlisted that you then get to apply for the course. But if you have the financial resources to apply for the course, then you can just do that straight up. But I would not, recommend. I'll just say apply to the scholarship and put your best foot forward. Does one need to apply? The survey link is in the application. So just click on their websites, click on apply now. You have to put like register. They use SurveyMonkey. So the survey is like the first part. So you have to just submit that, and there's no separate link, it's the same link. Okay, so for Toby Shobande, yeah, still apply. Still apply irrespective. Is it possible to use AI powered? Okay, so for AI, yeah, it is possible, but just take notes because I got to hear even from feedback from some of the organizing team that some people use AI and the AI tells them, in brackets, replace this with your name, and the applicant pastes both the essay and the part where it says replace this with your name. So that's to tell you that, be very careful when you use AI. It's okay to use it to maybe check for your grammar and ask it, if it has any questions as to what you are missing, what you can do better, you know, and it will give you feedback and you can work with that feedback. Ah, hey. Well, okay, so for the personal pronouns, my own feedback would use I, because if I don't say I am Olumide and I say she's Olumide, that is not personal, right? You are talking about yourself. So I don't see how you talk about yourself without using your own personal pronouns. You're not writing a critical analysis. If you're writing a critical analysis of maybe like a literary work, then you don't need to use personal pronouns. But this is a scholarship essay. But check online for what other people say though, then make your decision. I have two questions. Sorry, I'm almost done. I'm just quickly reading through the ones in the chat because I see they've been here for some time. Is it okay to use AI powered? I already answered that. Does any early application? No, please take your time. Oh, take your time. But when I say take your time, that doesn't mean you wait to the last day, because technology and village people can, strike. Maybe site is not loading or something is not working, or your internet then goes off, you know. But take your time, make sure your essays are good to go, and you submit maybe 2, 3, 4 days. If you are even ready a week before, that's okay. But that the fact that you submit very early does not, no. It's more about the quality of your essay. Excuse me. Ah, for the second question, Victor, I would recommend you search online, right? What you want to do is to, if you know you've used AI, you want to check to really know if it detects. But one thing I recommend you to do is, if you're using AI, please don't copy word for word. Use AI to get ideas and to make your essays better, not to write your essays for you, because it doesn't know you. So for Ishola, I would have said yes, but I have like a whole lot of essays and people have already said yes to on LinkedIn. So I would not be able to review your essay right now. But one thing as I've said, is you need to make sure that your essays are like very, very, very tight. And I hope some of the insights that I've shared and the resources that you watch would help you, make sure your essays are very good. And if you want to send anyone a draft of your essay, never send them the first draft, because you're just giving that person more work. Send them your final draft, because that means you've put in the work, and what they would basically be reviewing is more like maybe anything else that needs to be done. Please, I see that the meeting is being recorded. Yes, the recording will be sent, but it will be sent tomorrow. I had questions where you... Okay. Thank you, Uba. Can I apply for the master's in education? If the master in artificial intelligence is part of the courses that the scholarship covers, then you can. But basically, there are courses that the scholarship covers. So, except you want to self-fund. So right now, I'm going to be moving to those that have their hands raised and answer the question. So if you have any other question, please feel free to raise your hand. We'll be wrapping up in the next 5 minutes to 10 thereabout. So Peter James, I can see your hand is raised. You have the floor.
Good evening. Thank you very much for this webinar. Thank you for your time and the resources you have invested into mentoring us on this process. My question is just a quick one, please. When applying to this master's program, do the scholarship committee consider your background um, before selecting you, or we can actually switch from um, for example, from a pure art into courses like African International Development? Is it possible for us to switch background from different background to take another course?
Okay, yes, it is very, very possible. Very possible. Just create a story around that. So why you can even talk about, even though I have a background in this, I've been able to work in this, where I then saw some of these gaps. And for this, I am passionate about learning, furthering my studies on, Africa and international development to know how to create policies, blah, 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 blah. So it is very, very possible. I have had there are current scholars here that studied something entirely different from what they are doing. And even I myself, as I said, I studied English, but all my career, I didn't do anything in English, right? So if to an extent, maybe you've maybe noticed a problem, or maybe career-wise, you've been working in within the context of what your course, would grant you access to, then that's also like a good thing. You can base your story around that, but they won't check.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. So Philippa,
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm sorry. I have cough, so my voice is kind of
no problem. We are together.
yeah. Please, I want to ask, do you think it's advisable, right? Because Mastercard has several scholarships. I don't know if it's there's Edinburgh, there's UBC, there's Arizona. Is it okay? And for each uh, um area, they have specific courses. So, for example, yeah, if you're considering sustainable energy for Edinburgh, and you're looking at, say, data science at UBC, do you think it's advisable to apply to multiple opportunities with the same Mastercard?
Well, yes, you can. To a very large extent, the committee that would be reviewing your essays are like independent, at least to my knowledge. The one at Edinburgh would not necessarily check if you've applied to another place before they give you their decision. So that also helps you. If you get the both, you can even then make a decision to know which one you want, right? So it doesn't restrict you. No, feel free.
Okay,
As long
thank
as
you.
the course, yeah, as long as the course you can talk about why you want to apply to that for that course.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay,
Okay.
so Musa.
Um, Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Shode, for this opportunity. I'm sincerely grateful. So my question is this: there is this particular question that the Mastercard Foundation team want to access to know whether you've been displaced, and then I just want to know whether you can be able to highlight in our context here in Nigeria, looking at a lot of factors that one might consider himself or herself displaced. So what can you say about that? And then also with respect to your presentation, AC4, that's the fourth AC you highlighted some of the tips that we should take note of. I think part of that question is not in this year's essays that we are going to write. We just have four, and then they won't ask you on why you want to study in the UK and all of that. So I don't know if you can also highlight how we can be able to integrate that to our essays, despite the fact that that is not mentioned. Thank you so much.
Okay, so if I may ask, which of the programs which is it, Edinburgh, or which one are you applying for?
Yes, Edinburgh.
Okay, so basically for the displaced, I would not, if you're not displaced, there's no point saying you're displaced, right? I don't think the question would necessarily like say you must be displaced. So answer this. It's more like if you have or if you are, right? But one of the key things in which I know that could work for that is to see where you've been disadvantaged. So disadvantage here could be, oh, maybe you had challenges getting access to education, access to resources, maybe because of your gender, maybe because of your ethnical background, maybe because you are from a minority, or if anyone has like a disability, you can also mention that. So that is like a good way. You can just look at key areas in that line and create what's it called now? Um, create your essay or your answer around that. So in terms of being displaced, meaning my understanding is okay, you had to leave your hometown to go to another country or to go to somewhere else. If you've not been displaced, don't say you've been displaced, but look at how else you can mention that. But I doubt if they will say, oh, you have been displaced. Tell us how you have been displaced if you've not been displaced. I don't know if that answers that. Then, as I said, the question will always change. What I'm saying here is that for the question 4, if they do not ask you why Edinburgh, why UK, that's okay. But they would always ask you why, like, how would you contribute to the Mastercard Foundation community? Is there a question in line with that or around that?
Yeah, I think question 1 talks about that. The
Yes,
qualities,
there is.
okay, one will be bringing to the community.
So you talk about the community. You can talk about what's it called now? Look at the research you've been able to do. What are they up to in terms of what is the scholars program up to? In partnership with the University of Edinburgh, right? There's something called the climate leadership program, right? How would you contribute towards this? So you could also look at that angle, right? And as I said, sometimes you might have some answers. It's not always about academics, right? It doesn't necessarily mean you have to say, oh, I'm coming to the UK because of so and so. But if you are at loss as to what else to write, you can also say that, oh, you would like to come to Edinburgh because you're choosing the Mastercard Foundation program at the University of Edinburgh because of there are so many beautiful sites, places that you would love to be, or some of the other things that the school is actually actively engaged in. You can also find a way to tailor that into your essay. If you do not have any other thing, you have to say, to answer that question. But one key thing is research. So when you research, you find out what they are doing, and you can gain insight or inspiration on how to answer that better. So Chima Okeke.
Thank you so much, Olumide, for this section. I want to ask, on the website, I've been seeing prompts that says the application favors people that are from displaced regions and women or people that are having disabilities. I don't know if you have extra tips to give to someone that didn't really fall into this category, but like he has done 1 or 2 things that can make him win the essay. I don't know. This prompt makes the scholarship kind of more competitive and tough for the person. Are there extra tips you can kind of give so that such a person can at least have a headway? Thank you very much.
Okay, Chima, thank you. I think I already answered this like 2-3 minutes ago, right? You can't tell a story if you do not have that experience. So if you are not a female, you can't say that, oh, because I've been a female, I've been disadvantaged in this side. If you've not been displaced, you can't tell that story. What you need to look for is where you've been disadvantaged as a person. So the reason why they actually do put emphasis on that is because they've noticed that when you get applications, even people that have been displaced, they have that belief that, oh, they don't fit in. Those that have disabilities have this belief that, oh, if they apply, they won't get it because of their disability. So this is Mastercard letting you know that they are very inclusive, they are very diverse, and they are willing to help. There is no bias there. Just talk about how you've been disadvantaged, right? So it's helps those that fall into this category be more confident to talk about their story, and they can see that, because to a very large extent, if you have a disability, I think the way they would assess, it doesn't necessarily mean because you have a disability or you're displaced you get the scholarship. No, they will still reassess you, but they would be a bit more. I think there's like another process for that. But if you've not been displaced, then talk about how you've been disadvantaged and how you've been able to overcome that challenge. So Grace,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Hello, thank you so much for this enlightening session. What I want to ask is relating to what Chima asked, just for
I had
clarity.
most of the things you wanted to add.
So the in terms of the challenges, what if someone, like for example, like how you explained your story, I don't have any financial barriers, and although I'm a woman, but I don't fall into the category of person living with disabilities, displacement, and the rest. But I actually had a challenge after I graduated from school. I had a challenge with something. So can I also write about that? Does it have to be related to maybe
Okay.
financial barriers or the likes?
So this challenge that you encountered, did you actively work, like actively try to get yourself out of that situation?
Yes, I did, and I was able to set up an initiative in collaboration with an organization to be able to provide assistance to people that have like similar issues, like I did.
And that's beautiful. That's good. So it's more like you encounter this problem, you've experienced it, you've been able to take action, take ownership, and you've been able to, break out of that barrier, come out of that challenge. And you didn't just do this, you went the extra mile to also make sure that others do not, have to go through that challenge, or others that are going through that challenge are able to support them so that they know how to navigate that. So I think, as I said, everybody is different. Everyone will have their own story to tell. I didn't say anything about, oh, maybe my parents, I had to hawk on the street, or I had to, have to juggle 5 jobs just to, get through my undergraduate, because I didn't do that. To a very large extent, even though we're not very wealthy, my parents were able to pay. So we didn't really have that financial issue when it comes to academics, right? But if you have that story to tell, then it's beautiful. Put that forward. If you don't have that story to tell, look at what the other, well, as human beings, I would not say as Nigerians, but as human beings, they are like, they say problem no they finish. Like there is always something that you've experienced that you had to pull yourself out of it. So just look at that. And I think the example you gave is actually like a very good one. So put that forward. And if what's the
Thank
challenge that
you.
you've solved, yeah, you're welcome. If the challenge also in one way or the other, maybe from your course that you're studying, would also help you with this initiative you've done, then also tell them that.
All
Okay.
right, thank you.
Jennifer. Jennifer. Okay, so Jennifer is no longer raising her hand. Okay, so that we had some questions. Let me just quickly answer and then we.
Sorry, I was muted. I didn't know. I didn't know I was
Okay.
speaking, but didn't know I was muted.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Olumide. Like I said, I'm really very inspired. However, you've answered a couple of my questions, but I just want to push my luck. So when it comes to the CGPA thing, I tried applying, and during the assessment, you have to put in your CGPA, and then it lets you know if you're going to continue or not. So at that point, application stopped. And I wanted to know, my question is, I don't know if it's possible. Let me just ask. I want to know if someone who has maybe a story, you also have good experience, and you have something around what you want to build your application on, but this is a challenge. Is there a way you one can maybe push their luck to do like an email to say, oh, I know this is a limitation. However, just state your case and just find a way around it.
Okay. So I think it's saying your application stopped because maybe you didn't meet one of the eligibility criteria. Is that it?
Yes, which is the CGPA thing.
GPA. Okay. So writing an email would be a long shot. Number two reasons, but I would not necessarily discourage you from doing that. It's because number one, the emails, I didn't know how busy. Sometimes you just send emails and you think, oh, they should have responded immediately, but the emails do get like very, very. So I do not have access to it, but I can tell from the feedbacks that I've gotten so far. So to a very large extent, you can write, but what I'm saying is that you might not get an immediate response. And if at all it's then is like a challenge that does not allow you to apply for this, you can look out for if there is another one within another school that maybe does not have this criteria that you need to meet, or if there are other scholarships. So basically, one other thing which I want to advise people here is I always believed in putting all my eggs in one basket, but I also didn't, because it saves you stress. But the advice is don't put all your eggs in one basket, and that just gives you leverage to be able to put in your best in all that you apply for, but do not do too much. Maybe 2 or 3 or 4 is good, max. And if you're able to get all of them or even some of them, then that's good. You're able to weigh your options. So Jennifer, you can try to send an email, but I don't know how fast you'll be able to get the response, and I don't know if that will be effective, because you still have to apply online. So I don't know how that process goes. I don't know if that answers your question or helps at all.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much. I'm just going to appeal that
Yeah.
I know you have access to a lot of information at this point. So in case for those of us who CGPA is quite a challenge or stopping us, you could maybe share going forward resources or anything that could really help us, because at this point it's not like we're dull, but situations happen, and at this point we are good candidates, but because of this limitation we can't really move forward. So in case you come across anything, please send it our way. Thank you so much.
Okay, no problem. And I think I would also I'll ask here when next we meet with them. So let me quickly answer the question in the chat. Please, I have a question. Which is more important, the school's requirements? Please, you need to meet Mastercard's requirement first, because it's when you get the scholarship you can go for the school. How best can we approach the future goals? I think Jacqueline, you can watch the video recording. I already explained this, but basically your future goal is the study, anything that has to do with the course. Go to the university's course page, and then you would be able to know what you want to do. You already know what you want to do in the future, so it will just give you insight on how to work around that. Then it's not so keen about you coming back to your Musa, is all right. So someone has questions. Okay, we need to round up very soon. So one minute, Amira.
Okay, ma. Thank you so much, ma. Thank you so much.
You're
So,
welcome.
my question is that when I was going through the application form, there is this particular question, like the CGPA part, 4.0 something like UK grading or 5 point scale. So I was confused actually. Okay, the question was like first class, like UK grading or 5.0. At first, I picked 5.0 because my school grading system is actually over 5.0. But since I was confused, so I had to go and pick UK first class, stuff like that. But I now realize that in writing my personal statements, now I still have to like be like, okay, I have something like 4 point something something over 5.0, something like that. So it is kind of contradicting to me. I don't know if I should start again or I should just, or it does not matter.
Okay. Even I myself, I'm a bit confused right now. But one thing you want to do is there is 4.0 grade points and there's 5.0. You just need to know what your school grades on. Is it overall 4.0 or is it overall 5.0? A lot of universities in Nigeria always use 5.0, right? You say that from 3.5 to 4.5 is the second class upper, and 4.5 to 5.0 is first class. So just know what your school uses and use that. So Nigeria universities, a lot of universities in Nigeria uses the 5 points.
Yeah. We also use the 5.0. So what I got, where got confused was that it's because the UK is like first class UK. So I was not like, because it is also first class in that 5.0 so it's like 4.7 something. It's also first class. So I'm so confused. Like even if I pick this 5.0, it's still first class now. So that is why. So I had to just go and pick the UK that has the first class option. So I don't know, but it is actually over 5.0.
Okay. And that works then. That works then. So Grace is the next, and I
Yeah,
think that's
sorry, I
it.
forgot. Yeah, I forgot to ask a question before. So when I was filling my the eligibility assessment for the program, and there was a part where they asked about the program that I want to apply for. So I thought I clicked something, but I mistakenly chose the wrong program. So when I came to the part where I'm supposed to write the essay, the question also came up again that you have to select the program that you are applying for, because when you select the program you applied for, that's when the questions will come out. So just like Amira, I'm a little bit confused. Should I go ahead with submitting my essay, or because I mentioned something different in the eligibility assessment, I'll have to open like another account or something to start afresh?
So basically, I don't know what they use the survey for, right? But one thing I'm very sure of is they work with the school team, the university team, right? At least to a very large extent. So you'll find out that maybe those that if I'm in entrepreneurship and innovation and someone else is in African and international development, and you mistakenly pick. So if you can create a new account, you can. I would recommend that so as to erase any kind of confusion or make you start wondering what if. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would recommend you can create a new account and quickly fill the survey again. The deadline has not yet passed.
Okay, I'll do that. I was just a little bit concerned that maybe creating multiple accounts might affect my application.
I don't think it should. What did you submit for the survey? Did you submit any personal essay or anything?
No, it was just the normal questions that they asked about your what you graduate with, your what they call it, what you graduated with, what programs you want to apply for, are you a male or female, all those the normal, what country are you from, what course did you study, when did you graduate, and all of those things. So
Okay.
that was the point where they asked.
Yeah,
So they
so
just asked us. Mm.
no problem. I would recommend if it's still possible, because even if you are creating a new account, you can just copy and paste. If you started on your essays, just copy and paste your essays. The reason why I'm just advising you to do this is because the deadline is still open. So the deadline is not yet like to submit the survey has not closed. So you can still like fix that, because
All right,
there's
thank
a
you.
possibility that maybe your course, depending on the course, it should also depend on whoever it is that will review, and maybe they are saying A and then they are saying B, so that I don't know how that works, but since they're
Yeah,
just be on the safe side. Yeah.
thank you. Yes,
You're
thank you.
welcome. So the Shobande Toby, the first one is the page for the where you apply. That is where you apply for the scholarship itself. The second link is the page to the website. That's the Mastercard Foundation website at the University of Edinburgh. Do you get? Yeah. So the first link is actually the application, like where you are actually going to be writing your essays, while the other one is just like the website where you get to see the eligibility criteria, you see the FAQ. If you cannot access the second link, what I would recommend or suggest that you do is, some side you can use Opera Mini. Then you can try using incognito tab, clear your cache, clear your cookies, and you're good to go. Right. The Mastercard Foundation, right, contact your referee. Yes,
All
and
right.
your
Thank
referee
you.
will contact your referee. Okay, you're welcome. So Amira, this is the last question I'll be taking today, and then we need to, because I need to get on with the day. So I'm with you,
Oh,
Amira.
sorry, ma. I raised my hand by mistake.
Okay.
Doesn't-
All right. So okay, so Tolu's question will be the last, and then we'll call it a day.
Thank you very much. I was asking that when you give you an email for your referee and they submit it, does Mastercard tell you when they have submitted it, or you have to keep asking them?
No. So let your referees know immediately you've submitted your referees details. Make sure that they know that you've submitted, and make sure that you keep on top, like contact them, check in with them to confirm if they've submitted.
Okay.
Because they can get very busy and they forget. Yeah.
Okay. Then the last question is, let's say you study at Unilag and the lecturer was in Unilag, but now they are no more in Unilag, and they have a different institutional email address. Is it going to cause any problems?
No, not necessarily. So as long as the lecturer is still willing to sign using wherever it is that he is. So if he's in another university, he can just say that, oh, while he was a lecturer at so and so. Do you get?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you everybody for your time. I really, as I said, I look forward to hearing good news from each and everyone. And the good news here is that the numbers of people that got into the scholarship in 2021 has increased, in 2022, 2023 increased. This year we are the highest number so far, and I'm hearing a little birdie is telling me that next year's scholars would actually be much more. So that means more opportunities and more room available. So just put your best foot forward, tidy your essays, watch YouTube videos. It doesn't, even if you have to burn data, like just watch. It's knowledge is key. Do your research. Let them know that you've done your research on them, and make sure that you are telling your story is honest. If there is something you say you want to do, or if there's something you say you've been doing, make sure you've been doing it. If there's something you say you plan to do, right, and you know that you've not started doing it, go and start brushing yourself up and learning how to do it, because if you make it to the interview, you get to discuss. So that's another space. So hopefully, maybe before that time comes, I might create another webinar for interviews. But thank you all for your time once again. Please enjoy the rest of your evening and have a great productive week ahead. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Hi, thank you so much, Olumide.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I really appreciate you. Thank you for your effort.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Olumide, you're so
very much.
kind. Thank you for always sharing and not holding back.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. So to answer your question, Peggy, you don't need to submit your reference in this first deadline. I don't think so. The reference is always like after the interview, so still calm down, but make sure you get your references ready. But it's not like they have to submit now.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, bye everyone. So I'll be ending the call now. Enjoy the rest of your day.